The Electoral Commission hailing South Africans for turning out in large numbers during this weekend's voter registration drive. This is ahead of the local government elections. The IEC says nearly 3 million new registrations were recorded, with the majority being young people. For more on this and the overall voter registration weekend report, we're joined by the IEC's Deputy Chief Electoral Officer, Masego Sheburi. Mr. Sheburi, good to talk to you. Thank you very much for your time. It's clearly a very, very good weekend that we have had, despite the chilling weather, I think, almost throughout the country. The weather is always a factor here, but you say you've achieved two significant objectives during this voter election drive. Talk to us about that. What exactly?
Thank you, Claudie. Over the 2 days, the Commission interacted with no fewer than 2.9 million citizens. 2.5 million of those are people who took efforts to go to a voting station close to where they live, in spite of the inclement weather across most parts of the country. The balance, which is 362, are those who took advantage of the convenience offered by the online voter registration platform and transacted with those. Out of the 2.9 million people who interacted with us, we were able to register for the first time 477,000 new voters, 80% of those being people under the age of 29 years.
Very interesting indeed. We'll go to even a deeper detail as to the demographic profile of these young people. But before we get there, let's talk about the overall, or should we say the total number of registered voters, because you say coming out of this weekend, we now sit as a country overall with 28.5 million registered voters. Where did that number sit previously?
When we went to the last election in 2024, the certified voters roll for that election stood at 27.7 million voters. However, in between elections, we have a phenomenon of net decline on the voters roll. What do we mean by that? Since the last election until May of this year, we have lost in excess of 1.3 million people on the voters roll, meaning in between elections, the voters roll declines.
Yeah.
Thanks to our online registration platform, for the first time, we've been able to invert that phenomenon in that we're able to grow the voters roll in the period in between elections, even before we went into a registration weekend for an imminent election. In the 2 years, we have registered in excess of 1.6 million people, which gives us a net growth on the roll of 300,000 if you minus the 1.3 people that are deceased. Yeah. So while the traffic over the 2 days was at voting stations, the value of online registration in between elections is not lost to us.
Okay, let's quickly then talk about the gender split, particularly of the young voter that has come out. Males versus females, who showed most interest?
There's a well-entrenched trend on the voters' roll of there being more females than males. And it also doesn't only end at registration. It also continues into participation. In each election, we are likely to have more female participate than males. The voters' roll averages about 54% females and the balance being males.
Yeah.
Even in this registration weekend, across all age categories, females dominate as the predominant turnout gender for purposes of registration. And that repeats again in the young age cohort and also repeats again on the online registration platform.
Okay. All right, let's then talk about the online activity as well, because much as people would have turned out physically to voting stations or registration stations, was there a lot of activity online, people choosing to register online or update their details online as opposed to physically going to a voting district?
Two channels give us insight of the behavior of voters. On the online platform, we've processed about 362,000 transactions over the 2 days. It is 12% of the total traffic that we generated over the weekend. Because online registration is not linked to the opening of voting stations, it will spike at times outside of voting station registration. While it was low over the 2 days, over the long period in between election, it registers the most yield for purposes of registration.
Yeah.
The second indicator is that for the 2 days, we have observed traffic in excess of 12 million on our website. And the biggest pages that drew traffic were the following: one, people checking if they were registered as voters. Secondly, people trying to locate their voting stations, because we have a voting station finder. If you put an address, the system will indicate your voting station, including providing you with directions from the address that you provided to access that voting station.
Okay, finally, and very quickly as we close, this was the first voter registration weekend. Talk to us about the second and final one, as I understand it. When will that be? But also importantly, those who want to register for special votes, let's say a journalist like myself, who probably will be working on the actual day of voting, when can I apply for a special vote?
The Commission has this afternoon confirmed the 1st and 2nd of August as the last voter registration drive, which is based at voting stations. Those who want to continue on the online platform, the online platform will remain available until the election is proclaimed by the minister responsible for cooperative governance. On that day, to come to your second question, Toli, we will then issue an election timetable, which will have the dates, including the dates for special votes. For now, it's still premature to indicate dates for special votes. On the day when an election is called, the Commission will issue out an election timetable, which will include number of activities, including the timelines those activities need to be undertaken, and that will also pertinently address the issue of applications for special votes when they open and when they close.
Masego Sheburi, thank you very much for your time. The IEC's Deputy Chief Electoral Officer talking to us there about a successful voter registration drive.